Welcome back to another episode of With Sonar. I am Luke Velasca, your host, and of course joined by my co-host Kyle Taylor. Kyle, thanks for jumping on with me here. We've got a fantastic lineup today. We weren't here last week. We missed a huge FreightWaves Live event, which we're going to get to more in a minute. But first off, how you doing?
We're having to bring a little bit of sunshine here. It's a little rainy out this week, so we're having to bring some heat, bring some happiness and some optimism. It's been 2 weeks. I mean, 14 days.
It feels like a lifetime.
And we had, we had Tom Curie on here dropping some knowledge bombs 2 weeks ago. So it's been a while.
It has.
So I've grown a mustache since the last time.
Yeah, what's going on with that, by the way?
We got a no-show. Well, if you remember that Tom kind of put me on blast and was like, if you don't know how to grow a beard like Tom, then you should probably sit down. So I had to grow a mustache.
That's true. And yeah, you've done a lot more than I have. I've just been lazy. This right here took about 3 weeks to grow. So. Oh, Good. I'm kidding. It was 4. But no, seriously.
No, but it's been a wild turn of events over the past 2 weeks because we've had. Reefer volatility, we've had van volatility, we've had we're starting to get into that peak season that everyone's been talking about. So I believe I saw UPS really started issuing their peak accessorial charges. So we're seeing a lot of that going on, and also, what else can we have to switch things up? So there was another hurricane or a storm going through Florida, actually through my hometown of Tampa. We got a lot of rain down there.
Everybody okay down there?
Everything's good. It's not hitting directly, so we're gonna luckily it's not. I think it's still just a tropical storm, so that's a benefit. But just like what we say all the time is, there's already so much volatility. What else could throw a monkey wrench into this whole thing? And throw a little bit of weather always helps that out. But yeah, big event last week. If you missed FreightWaves Live at home, one of the big releases that Sonar had coming out was our SCI, and that is the supply chain intelligence platform. And it's really our way of getting into benchmarking. We talked about benchmarking against the market. We have all this great data, all of this information to be able to see, how are we comparing against the market. But now we're coming at it from a different lens, where we're going to be looking at how do you compare yourself to your neighbor.
Yeah. No, I'm really excited about this, and this is something that it's actually we've already launched the beta version for it. Current Sonar customers are testing it, and it's going to be available to everybody soon. But it's really exciting. So when you think about how much data we already have, so right now, like FreightWaves before this was sitting on $250 billion worth of freight tender transaction data.
Just a couple tenders.
Right, just a tender or two, right? 250 billion, right? Just a small snack, rounding error, if you will. But then now we've added an additional $80+ billion in contracted freight rate data.
Yeah,
and it updates in the same real time as our tender data every single day. It's not, hey, here's where contracted rates were 3 weeks ago. You can see that, but it's here's where they are today.
Hey, spoiler alert, your rates are higher than they were last quarter.
Yeah,
oh,
right?
Perfect, thank you.
Who knew?
I appreciate that.
But no, seriously, I mean, the benchmarking aspect, this is what I'm so excited for. I know there's other benchmarking platforms out there, but what I love about this is you obviously have the ability to benchmark in real time or over whatever historical period you want to see. We'll benchmark you up to the last 3 years. But it's not just with the market rates and the market averages. It's specific to companies like yourself, right? So let's say I'm an auto manufacturer. I don't want to benchmark my rates for, say, like a retailer. That wouldn't be helpful. Right?
No, exactly.
There are certain premiums that auto manufacturers will pay, even for the same mode of transportation, that a retailer won't, or a food and bev won't. And they have to be able to do that. So they have to be able to be benchmarking themselves with peers like themselves, not just in the same industry, but also the same size. And there's so much of that we're taking in place. But it goes a step further than that, because we combine it then with all of our tender data on top of it. So you're getting this incredible picture, not just of the rates. The rates are helpful. You also get forecasting along with that.
Right.
And you get all the market intelligence of the tender data, which is really going to tell you why things are happening and where they're likely to head.
Yeah,
and I'm super excited about that.
Real-time decision making is what we've always preached. We're trying to just bring more awareness, more visibility towards a market, and this is just another way of us bringing that to the doorstep of all of the people in the industry. So, but as that comes out, it comes into fruition. It's like Luke said, it's in beta test now, so that's going to be coming out Q1, I believe. January is going to be live for everyone. There's a handful of people that are live in it right now that are just beta testing it, but. So that's for another time.
That is for another time.
Another time, another cup of coffee later.
Yeah.
But today,
we have a fantastic episode today because today, obviously, folks won't just be getting the Luke and Kyle special.
The Luke and Kyle show, as always.
Yeah. Nobody calls it that, by the way. But
just us.
They will be getting. We have a fantastic guest, an actual Sonar customer, not just any old Sonar customer, but one of Kyle's customers that you brought on, to my knowledge, correct?
The man, the myth, the legend does something right besides just growing a mustache.
I know, I'm impressed, by the way. But anyway, further ado, Chris Seeds, Director of Sales from Bridge Logistics. Chris, can you hear us on the line?
I can hear you loud and clear, fellas. Happy to be a part of the Luke and Kyle show.
Well, yeah, Luke and Kyle and Chris show.
We've converted one person.
There we go. Perfect.
Awesome. Chris, thanks so much for joining us today. Tell us, where are you calling from today for our viewers' sake?
Yeah, we're here in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Awesome. Is it pouring rain like it is here?
No, actually, it's been super nice the last couple of days. It's been in the 70s. I think we broke a record yesterday or the day before for one of the warmest days.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we're just
taking a road trip up
we
to
got my
Cincinnati.
rain boots on right now, so yeah, we're a little tough. But yeah, Chris. So from where you sit in the industry, what are you seeing? What have you noticed going throughout COVID into what we're looking at going into the end of the year and now 2020? What are some of the things that you've noticed that you try to keep your team aware of to further talk about with your customers now?
Well, it's like, you said earlier, the spoiler alert, rates are up. Big surprise there, right?
Right.
So it's for us and for me, it's about, and that's why I do, what not to miss with Chris every week. I try to put out, a new piece of content to help, and to positively benefit the freight community here. But, for us, it's about making sure that we're explaining that why behind the what about what's going on right now in the industry. And Sonar has been a great resource that's allowed us to do that for a number of different reasons. And like I was, on What the Truck on Monday talking to, Dooner and Vincent. And, what I told them is, if there's one thing that I've really learned since I've been using Sonar and been in the industry is I still got a lot more to learn.
Don't we all?
There's so much to it.
Yeah, and you've done something that I don't think Luke and I have done, and that's been on What the Truck. I don't think I've ever been on What the Truck. So,
I have a What the Truck shirt, but I've never actually been on it.
Yeah, no, exactly. So that's very impressive. And so, the title of the conversation is about having conversations. How do we improve trust and have conversations with our customers and with, something we talked about earlier, some of the new hires, because we're seeing, the freight industry is just booming right now. There's up and to the right on volumes. And so that's caused a lot of companies to grow. So, from what you're experiencing, how do you translate that conversation to someone who's maybe never been in the industry that now has to start talking the talk?
Yeah, absolutely. And, like you mentioned, we were talking earlier, and it's, we are onboarding and we're hiring and we're trying to grow our sales team here. But we want to do it the right way. And, for us, I heard this quote the other day, selling is a Broadway play performed by a psychiatrist. And what I mean by that is it's not necessarily just about jumping on the opportunity to answer a question, but it's a matter of sitting back, listening, and then, once you have a clear understanding of, what that customer, that prospect's need is, then at that point you're going in and you're trying to provide solutions. And, that listening piece is really about, developing that trust and having them know that you're hearing what they're saying. So it's, for us, it's, here's what I said, here's what I'm saying, repeat it back to me, make sure you heard what I actually said. And the customer is the same way. They want to be heard. And that's, if you look at a lot of statistics, that's one thing the customers say that they don't get. They feel like they're not heard. And I feel like that's because a lot of people
are just waiting to talk almost.
Exactly. It's really hard for people to have that childlike curiosity. It's easier for me because I have 3 kids, and my 5-year-old, he'll ask me 100 questions a day, which I love. I love that curiosity that he has. But it's it's portraying that to other individuals here and within the industry to have that childlike curiosity, to make sure you're asking those hard-hitting questions, to make sure that you're listening and not just reacting too soon. And for us, again, going back to Sonar here and onboarding and everything that we do, we really instill up front, with our reps here, it's, let's take a step back, let's listen, let's get deep into what they're doing, how they function. And at the end of the day, let's figure out together if we're going to be a good fit. And let's not try to force that, that fit upon anybody. If we're not a good fit for you, we'll straight up tell you, because we're not good at anything. As Kevin Hill says, the riches are in the niches, and we'll support that. We're not good at everything. We're not, but we are good at a number of different things. We move a lot of truckload freight here in the Midwest, and that's probably the majority of what we do, and we're really, really, really good at it, and we know that. And so we build into that every single day. But if we don't have a solution for you, happy to point you in a direction of somebody that might be better at it than we are, because we're not the best at everything, and we're the first to tell you that.
Chris, I love that, and that's actually something that Tom's Curie said as well 2 weeks ago, and I think that's what separates a lot of these brokerages like yourselves, from some of the others that don't do that. Some try to be the experts in everything, and that's really an impossible task. They're afraid to say no. You mentioned something else earlier too, is utilizing Sonar to explain the why behind the what. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that's helping with maybe some of your conversations? Because like you said, newsflash, rates are up, right? Tell us about those conversations right now.
Yeah, and what I've really been trying to do, and again, that's one of the reasons why I started doing What Not to Miss with Chris, because we were having, customer conversations, talking to sales reps, debriefing phone calls, listening in on, what the prospect and the customer wants. And that's that they have this thirst for information right now. They want to know why things are changing. And it's not enough in today's age to just be like, hey, rates are up because there's not enough trucks in the market. Well, what does that mean? What are you talking about? There's not enough trucks in the market. Well, let's look at U.S. custom imports. They're through the roof. Let's look at a number of different maritime views that Sonar has to offer to show that this is going to consist or continue, and that shipments are going to be up for the next 14 to 21 days, just bookings coming inbound. So just looking at that stuff, being able to forecast, looking at, the outbound tender rejection index compared to the outbound tender volume index, and to see as those volumes rise, so does the amount of freight being rejected, and breaking that down on a market level, breaking that down on a per equipment level. There's just so many different ways you can go about explaining that why that's better than, well, there's not enough trucks in the market, capacity's tight. Okay, well, what does that mean?
Right,
and that's what I think that's really try to do.
And that's a perfect conversation to try to promote why you need more volume. Why the customers that you're working with, hey, here's the why, here's why we're making these decisions. And this is also why we think we deserve to have a little bit more of a cut of the pie, because we're providing a great service. Have you noticed anything like that happening with some of your larger customers that are, hey, you're explaining this to us in a great way, we're going to give you a little bit more freight than we normally do?
Yeah, so we're always trying to find new ways to inform the customer, be creative, customize that content. And I think really back when I think it was May or June, we had sent out an email to a number of our different customers that it was just pretty much like an overall basic breakdown of what's going on in the market. And we had a outbound tender volume index compared to an outbound tender rejection index, and I think it was for the whole year. And it was just showing that increase in volume in those rejections. And it was just the amount of responses we got just from that email that we were sending out to different customers and that it applied to was probably some of the best response rates that we've ever had. And the majority of those responses were, "Wow, thank you. This is so beneficial to us because now I can go to my boss and my boss can go to his boss, or at least we have an understanding of why this is all happening outside of just it's a tight truck market."
I think that's a really, really good point there, Chris. I mean, a lot of times, like we think about like, shippers and they just want to know, right? Like you said, right? They want to be able to go to their boss and explain the situation, right? It's not that they don't believe you when you say rates are up. It's not that they're always trying to beat you down. They want you to, obviously get a fair pay for the service that you provide. But it's just like you said, they need to be able to run out the chain as well, so everybody there knows what's going on as well.
There's a lot of fear.
There's a lot of fear
I mean,
too,
if
right?
we think about going back to 2018, I mean, how many transportation managers potentially lost their job after that 2018 swing when budgets were completely blown and Sonar was just in its inception. So you didn't have the ability besides just saying, okay, well, let me maybe look at some macro trends, or it was just, I'm sorry, we're going to go to the next person in line and try to find someone that can put a budget together and try to procure a little bit better. But actually having that insight, it would have probably changed so many different paths back in 2018.
Yeah, and think about how much too it sets you apart. I mean, Chris, you guys, the fact that you have this, I mean, you're not just every other broker now that your customers are talking to. You have that differentiating factor. Have you felt that at all?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that it's what it's done for our customers personally and our potential customers is great. But more than anything, even back to what we were talking about earlier with onboarding and bringing people on board and getting sales reps educated here at Bridge as to what's going on in the market and how to have those conversations about their customers, their prospect specific industry. It's just made the conversation so much easier and so much more relevant. For us, it's a matter of if you're a shipper, you're getting 100 calls a day, you're getting 1,000 emails a day. What we want to be able to do is when you see Bridge Logistics pop up on a caller ID, it's not, oh crap, they're calling us again, ignore. It's, you know what, Bridge Logistics is calling me, I know what they're about, they're going to tell me something that's beneficial, that's going to help them, that's going to help me elevate in the current market. Or, hey, I see an email come over from Bridge Logistics, I'm not going to send that right to the junk folder or delete it, because there's going to be something in there that's beneficial to me. It's not just, hey, what do you have going on this week? And
that
so
is some
that piece alone,
powerful stuff.
You can't put a dollar amount. Well, I guess you can put a dollar amount on, but
right, we're in the business of making money. That's right.
Those lights behind you, man. I know there's a rent bill that comes with that office.
Yep.
Right.
Oh no, that's perfect. Now, kind of back to the comments. Tom over here, who was with us 2 weeks ago, he said the same thing. Your customers today expect knowledge from their partners, so you better have your stuff together and better be prepared when things do go wrong. You have something to validate. Because at the end of the day, validation is probably the biggest thing. We all know it's the transportation industry. Trucks are going to fall off. There's going to be someone who decides to go get a better load somewhere else, and you're going to be left with the conversation to be had like, hey, I know I talked to you about 1,400, but it's actually going to be 1,550. Truck fell off. And so to actually be able to validate that, I think is definitely key. And it probably, I mean, tell me, Chris, I haven't been behind a computer at a brokerage floor in probably like 3 years, but that was the most painful conversation I could ever have.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the last thing you want to do, especially if it's a new opportunity, is drop the ball there. And that's a really hard conversation to have. And we're talking about trust here. What's that do for trust? It's not good. But those things happen. I mean, they don't happen all the time, but they'll happen, hit or miss here. But there's certain factors in trucking you just can't control. But what you can control is the data and the information that supports it, and how you portray that information to a prospect or a customer. And having being powered with with Sonar is something that really helps us explain why things are the way they are and why the truck fell off and why it's hard to recover. If nothing else, it gives us that credibility.
Chris, awesome. We're actually we're going to part ways here in a little bit, but before we do, I have to ask you an important question. I mean, obviously, between you and I think we've gotten to know each other here very well over this last 10-minute conversation. And I think we can be honest, right? Kyle, probably the worst salesman in the world.
Has to be.
I'm just curious here, what made you want to buy Sonar from him?
You know what? I think when you first started selling us, Kyle, you had the little pencil mustache going at the time. I think you even apologized for it.
Oh, there it goes. I tell everyone every year. I showed a photo to someone today, actually, on a sales call from 3 years ago. The pencil mustache.
Oh.
It's gotten better. Trust me.
But has it though?
Hey,
But like,
from here,
but has
it's really thickened up from here.
Oh man.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that, and I will recant everything that Luke just said. So. Perfect.
So
No,
how long are you gonna keep it?
End of the month, baby.
End of the month. Okay. Sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
In all seriousness, I think Kyle, one of the things that you did really well was you were able to demonstrate that ROI. I mean, and it was everywhere. And then I think you did a really good job of staying in front of us. Again, providing content that was relevant. I know that when we were going through the decision process, in between that initial meeting and then that follow-up meeting, I was getting emails about what was going on in the Cincinnati market and how that there was changes going on, the rejection rates, volatility. And I think that was something that was, critical because, we go through a lot of demos. We're always, how today is with tech, it's like it's everywhere. And so how do you differentiate yourself? You provide some information that's relevant. And I think you did a really good job of that relevance, Kyle, when you were selling us.
I appreciate that. And George, if you're looking, you're welcome. Thank you so much for that. And that's something that even from what you guys can experience as well. I think you just leave some breadcrumbs, and not every single one's going to hit, and not every phone call that your sales reps call, or reach out to someone they're going to get an answer. But if you can just leave some value, and that's something that we talk about with Sonar, just because there's so much of it, and I think that's everywhere. If you could just provide value without expecting something in return, I mean, eventually good things will happen.
Yeah, it's that go-giver mentality. You got to give to get, and the more you give, the more you're going to get back. It's not going to be every time, but it's going to be a lot more than if you're not giving.
Absolutely, 100%. Chris, thank you so much. Kyle and I, we're gonna hang out here. We're gonna talk a little bit more. Go back to the Kyle and Luke show, since you're making us look bad here. You're dropping way too much knowledge on our viewers here. They're not gonna listen to us anymore. They're just gonna want to listen to you. But anyways,
exactly.
Chris, thank you so much for joining. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Obviously, we look forward to.
Before you completely tune out, Chris, where can they, if anyone wants to get in touch with you or learn more about Bridge, where can they do that?
Yeah, so bridgelogisticsinc.com. Find us on there, and then look us up on LinkedIn. You can look me up on LinkedIn. I'm always on there, so happy to have conversations, even if it's just about what's going on in the market, and help explain that why behind the what.
Fantastic.
What a segue.
Why behind the what?
What a
great segue. Chris, thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day. Kyle, that guy's a stud.
What a guy. And Tom was over here talking all that smack 2 weeks ago, saying it's going to be tough to be the second guy coming up on the show. Well, Chris just let him know it wasn't that hard. So no, that's awesome. And to kind of wrap it all up here, I know we want to talk a little bit about the markets. I think I introed, the reefer market, super volatile. We're seeing peak season really start taking a lot of volume. We're starting to see the produce because of the Thanksgiving rushes and the potential rushes coming into Christmas time. So we're seeing the grocery stores really just be filled with consumer goods and different produce. So I think that's something that we should take a dive into. What do you think?
Absolutely. So I'm actually pulling up something here right now that we can actually flip up on the charts or the screen. There we go. Fantastic. So everybody can see this. So let me explain what's going on here, folks. So notice that green line there, not the blue line, just the green line. The green line is the overall truckload volume level year to date. Very high, very high. Right about its highest point here year to date, and it's continuing to push higher. With that, notice the blue line. The blue line is the rate or the percentage, in this case 27%. That might be too small to read, but it says 27% there. 27% of all volume that's being tendered or offered by shippers is being rejected.
That's insane.
27%, and it's going up. Now, This chart that you're looking at here is largely influenced by dry van freight. Check this out. The reefer market is going parabolic right now.
Parabolic.
Parabolic.
Man, you must be a Bitcoin guy.
Come on.
If you're saying that. No, that's so true.
But it is. Look at this. The green line there is the reefer tender rejection, sitting at almost 46% this morning. That blue line is the dry van, sitting at just under 27%.
It's just coming in, and if we look down November, I mean, what are we, 11 days into November? We're up 10% on the reefer market.
That's
it was
pretty
down
good. That's some quick math
low
there for you.
they pay me to talk, not do quick math. So
I'm impressed.
There we go. That was I was squinting trying to see those numbers, but no, that was insane. Just coming off the weekend.
Yeah.
And so not only, I mean, Kyle Littner from K-Ratio talked about it, I think, earlier this week, and he's, give back some of that freight that you're holding on to, because it's going to be expensive if you keep holding on to some of that freight.
Very expensive. But this right here, this is one data point. There are many other data points that Chris was referring to, but this is part of the why behind the what.
That's exactly right, and I think that's why you have that density of data sets, because we were just looking at the total market for tender rejections sitting at 23%.
Oh yeah.
Then you just splice it into van or reefer specific, and you just you double the percentage.
That's not even close. And this right here, something that I do want to point out is, for folks that don't move a lot of contracted freight, if you're just a spot market broker, this is still extremely important. Let me tell you why. Because what's happening is shippers, like let's look at this green line here for a second, sitting at 46% tender rejections. What that means is, when shippers tender or offer their reefer loads right now to their carriers or brokers, they're rejecting them, they're turning them down. What that means is those shippers still have to move that freight. Publix can't not fill their stores.
Listen, we have service times that need to be fulfilled, and Thanksgiving's coming up, and we need to make sure that everything's on the shelves.
So what happens? They put it on the spot market, and when you have rejections this high, it floods the spot market, forces a ton of spot market volume, rates shoot up. Here's a great example. We haven't been here in 2 weeks, so let's look at this map here real quick. Map here of the United States. This is the 2-week change, 2-week percent change in reefer tender rejections.
So for reference, since the last time you saw Luke and Kyle, the Southeast has just blown up.
Yeah. Parabolic.
No, that's exactly right. I mean, we're just looking at the entire Atlanta market right here, down into Jacksonville and Tallahassee, that is just going through the roof.
Too. That's home base.
Yeah, and what is the Southeast? It's a very dense market for consumption.
Savannah up 18.5%.
So that is just
Macon,
insane.
10%. Atlanta 9%. Right. Jacksonville's 18%. And then over here in Phoenix, whatever's going on over there, up 21%. The red areas are obviously areas of cooling, and then the white areas are kind of level.
That is insane. That is insane. Well, what a show.
What a show. Great.
I don't even know why they have us here. We should just have our customer base just come here and talk.
This is really true. This is really true.
So,
was it exciting having Chris on? Like, you've seen that full cycle from, you've talked to him originally, got him through the sale, and then now he's a celebrity.
Yeah, now he's a celebrity. He's on What the Truck. He's got his own stuff going on, and so that's something that's always great to see, is that there are so many different use cases. Chris talked about ROI. It was, at the time, it was really just like, how do we make better decisions on freight? And now it's turned more into, how do we onboard new employees? How do we talk to our customers better? So I mean, that's insane, and just brings so much value.
Absolutely. No, I think it absolutely does provide a lot of value. And the beauty is Chris over there, and really Chris's entire team at Bridge Logistics is, since they have this, they're able to just have all those conversations, right? I think there's a fear a lot of times shippers or even carriers have, that brokers are just making stuff up or lying to kind of make it. You can just point to something now.
If we just went back
to take your word for it.
When Luke was running Cradle to Grave, the conversations you had.
I took care of my customers. I may not have known a lot about freight at the time. I was very new. It was my first exposure, my very first broker's job, but I learned.
There you go.
And then I got Sonar, and I realized how much. Honestly, I should just go back and be a broker and just take all of this. I'm just kidding. I'm not trying to leave. George, you can't fire me. Please don't. All right, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to see more about Sonar, leave us a comment below. Kyle and I will get back to you. In the meantime, have a fantastic day.